Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Katarina. I film videos mainly about project planning and vegan and cruelty-free beauty. Today's video is going to be an update to my eyeshadow numbers. I haven't filmed one of these videos in a while. I filmed my last one in the very beginning of June and then I ended my eyeshadow no-buy. Before that I filmed these videos every single month. In these videos I do talk about my eyeshadow numbers, as the name says, because I can be a little bit nerdy, and I talk about like how many eyeshadows I have finished in a month, and so far this year how many pans I have hit, and if I have decluttered anything. And now that I have ended my eyeshadow no-buy, what I do want to include into these videos is if I have purchased any new palettes. And yes, I have bought quite a few palettes actually during summertime. And to be honest, I think that's one big reason why I haven't wanted to film these videos, because I did fail with my original eyeshadow no-buy goal. Well, my very original goal was to be on an eyeshadow no-buy during my no-buy year, so 2019. But after that I wanted to continue 2 more years, so that it would be 3 years total of eyeshadow no-buy. And then in the beginning of the summer I just decided that no way, I do want to allow myself purchase new palettes once in a while. But I still did fail with my goal, and maybe that's one reason why I haven't wanted to film these videos, because I'm afraid that I'm letting some of you down. But then in the end of the day I need to do what I know is right for me, and I do want to make some purchases once in a while. And after this year I'm going to focus even more on rotating through my collection rather than being like super focused on panning just one palette. Like this year I'm mainly focused on panning one palette and 10 few singles. So instead I want to spread the love more evenly throughout my entire eyeshadow collection. But yeah, that was the biggest reason maybe why it took a little while for me to film a new numbers video. But today I wanted to do it. I'm going to share with you all of the palettes that I have bought during this summer, and also I'm going to share with you all of the pans and shades that I have finished during the summertime, and of course my pan percentage. Okay, so let's start with the progress I have made this year with my eyeshadow collection. So let's start with how many pans I have hit. In the beginning of June I had hit 15 pans, so before the last video that I have filmed to this series. During summer I have hit 9 new pans. I did hit pan on all 3 shimmery lighter lit shades that I introduced to my panning solitaire. And then I also hit pan on 2 matte eyeshadows in my panning solitaire that are in my quad. So I hit pan on a matte cream and a matte light peach. I also hit pan on a couple of eyeshadows that were in my Pantos eyeshadows from my Future Pantot palettes. Unfortunately I had to end that project because it was getting too overwhelming for me with all of the projects I am doing eyeshadow wise. But I did hit pan on 1 matte coral from the Cosmetics Modern Mattes eyeshadow palette, and I did hit pan on the shade Semi Sweet from the Too Faced chocolate bar. Then I have hit 2 pans that were not in projects. So I did hit pan on a depotted eyeshadow from the BH Cosmetics Carly Bible Deluxe Edition palette. This is like a matte, really light, kind of like blush pink shade. There's a little baby pan there, and the shadow had cracked from where I hit the pan a little bit, but in the end of the day it is pan showing, and I did focus my brush there, so I do count it as pan. And then this one I'm the most excited about. I did hit pan on a depotted eyeshadow from the Colourpop I Think I Love You palette. I hit pan on the shade Let's Do It, and it is the matte black. I have been using that as a liner. In fact, I'm today wearing that as a liner. It's a really nice and pigmented black. So yeah, 9 pans during the summertime. I think that is pretty good, and that makes the pans I have hit so far this year 24. I mean, that's really good, because I have felt that I'm not doing that well with my panning projects for some reason during summertime. Maybe it is because I have been so overwhelmed, but when looking at the numbers, this is really impressive. Like, even if I say it, I think this is really good. Then let's talk about Eyeshadows Finished. So I had finished 6 eyeshadows before the last update to this series, and during summertime I have finished 3 more eyeshadows. So I did finish the Deep Matte Brown from the BH Cosmetics Carly Bible Deluxe Edition palette. That was a single in my panning solitaire. And then I did finish another shades from my duo from my panning solitaire. So that was a deposit eyeshadow from theBalm Bal Voyage 2 palette, and the shade was Tervetuloa. And then I finished ABS Love Letter. I have really struggled with that eyeshadow. It basically got ruined after repressing it, but if you want to hear more, check out my Panda palette playlist. So now I have finished total 9 eyeshadows this year. That's pretty good. I will say after this year I feel I do need a break of finishing eyeshadows. I really do love project panning, but I feel it's a whole another thing to hit pan than actually go and finish an eyeshadow. Because once you hit pan there is still so much eyeshadow left, and what I have learned myself is that when I hit pan, that's usually when I start to get bored with the eyeshadow, unless it is like a staple that I never get bored with, like a gold for example. But anything that is like not a favorite for me, I usually get sick with the eyeshadow once I have hit pan, because then there is so much product left and you have already used it so much because you did hit pan. So even though it's really satisfying to finish eyeshadows, I think I need to take a break from that and instead focus on hitting pan more. And I'm sure at some point I will come back to the eyeshadows I have hit pan on and try to finish them. But another thing with trying to complete eyeshadows is that it's going to take a lot of time, and if you have anything else but a minimal eyeshadow collection, then most of the other things that you have in your collection are just going to sit and expire, and I don't want that to happen to my eyeshadow. So that's why I want to rather focus on hitting pan and rotating through my collection. But yeah, I have finished 9 eyeshadows this year, so I'm really happy about that. Before the last update to this series, I had decluttered 17 eyeshadows from my collection. I believe from those 17, 1 was a single and 10 rest were depotted eyeshadows, because in April I decided to depot a lot of my palettes and keep only the shades I liked. In summer I have decluttered 3 eyeshadows. So first, the Geek Chick Cosmetics One Ring. That one was a loose eyeshadow. I still do have it. I put it into my memory box because it's the Lord of the Rings themed, but that one is like a pure like glitter, and that irritated my eyes. No matter even if I used glitter glue, it would get into my eyes and irritate, so I thought it's not worth it to me personally. Because, you know, I can get a beautiful and gold effect just from a normal shimmer or from a foiled eyeshadow. So I really don't feel a need to wear a glitter because that really does irritate my eyes. But then I also decided to declutter in my last video, that was a declutter video, 2 depotted eyeshadows from the Juvia's Place the Douche eyeshadow palette, so the shades Puffs and Mont Blanc. The Puffs I didn't love the color, and the Mont Blanc I didn't love the quality, and I have really never liked them. It was just that before I wasn't ready to let go of them, but now I was. So that means that total this year I have decluttered 20 eyeshadows. Okay, then this part, at least for me, is the most exciting of this video. We are going to talk about the eyeshadows that I have brought into my collection. I'm really excited. I have wanted to share these palettes with you, but as I said, it has been harder for me than I thought, just because, you know, I did fail with my eyeshadow no-buy, but I do not regret buying these palettes at all, except maybe one of these. I will explain it once we get to it, but yeah, these are all of the palettes. 2 of these palettes I bought in June, 3 of them are BH Cosmetics that I bought all in August. I placed 1 order, and in that order I also got 1 palette as a gift with purchase, which is like a really nice gift, and it's actually something that has been previously on my wish list. So yeah, there are 6 palettes, 5 of them I purchased myself. One thing I want to say is that I am going to start 1 month 1 palette. I'm not exactly sure when I will start it, but right now I do know I want to do it so that I can focus on these newer palettes, and also there are some old palettes in my collection that I have not used nearly enough. So I want to start that, and I really wish I could start it in the beginning of November, but that depends where I am then with my Pandat palette, because in my Pandat palette there are still 3 eyeshadows that I do want to finish. So if I really push myself to finish those 3 before the end of October, in that case I could start my palette of the month early, but we'll see. But anyways, let's go in order in which I bought these palettes. So first is the e.l.f. Opposites Attract eyeshadow palette. Now, people have been raving about these newer palettes from e.l.f. This is what the palette looks like. So it is a mix of warm colors and a mix of cool colors. Mainly neutrals, but then there's some pops of color. People have been raving about these newer e.l.f. palettes. I have only tried this once and I didn't even finish the look, but I really just wanted to try how it applies, and I was impressed. I tried the mustard and then the bronzy shade. The first impression I had was that this is better than the previous e.l.f. eyeshadows that I have tried, so I'm really excited to play with it, and I do think this would be a great palette for fall, and that's why I will try to start the 1 month 1 palette in November, because I think this would be a great palette to November. It has some of those really warm shades that are really fall appropriate, but then in November it's really grey and gloomy and dark here in Finland, so sometimes then I'm into more like smoky shades, and there are those too in the palette. So I do think I will start the 1 month 1 palette in November. Oh, and one more thing about the e.l.f. palette that I forgot to say is that I bought it from Feel Unique, and my birthday is in the beginning of June, so I had like a birthday coupon code for 20% off, so it was a really good deal. Another palette I bought in June is an eyeshadow palette from September Rose Cosmetics, and this is their Brew eyeshadow palette. September Rose Cosmetics is an indie brand from the UK, and they are black owned. And the color story of this palette is absolutely beautiful. I will say that this one was an impulse purchase. I did want to support some black owned brands, and that's of course something that I do want to do. However, I really didn't give myself time to consider if it's something I should buy or should not buy. I think I probably should have watched some reviews, because I have used this for a couple of times, and the formula, I will say, is not my favorite. So it's kind of like one of those formulas, what comes to first impression, that it does not work at all if you set your lid. And then because the colors are really intense, if I don't set my lid, I feel the look can go really overboard. I did put this palette to my Project 10 Uses roulette, but I still haven't used this in that project. But I think that if I am able to start the 1 month 1 palette in November, I think this would be my December's palette, because this would be an absolutely gorgeous color story for holiday. There's like beautiful golds, beautiful reds and warm neutrals. Really love the color story, but I still need to figure out if I love the formula. But yeah, that's the only palette that I maybe regret a little bit, because I should have considered it better. That was like my mistake, that I bought a palette in a whim. That's not something I want to do. The e.l.f. palette, I have been watching reviews from it and I have been considering it, and the BH Cosmetics palettes that I'm going to share with you, all of them have been at some point on my wish list, and I have been watching a lot of swatch videos, review videos. That's how I want to make my decisions. I really want to consider them before purchasing, but the September Rose Cosmetics palette I bought in a whim, and that is not how I want to do in future. Okay, then BH Cosmetics, so I did buy 3 of their eyeshadow palettes, and 1 I did get as a gift with purchase. Okay, so let's start with these 2 palettes, because these were the ones that I really wanted the most, and one of these was on sale and one of them I paid full price for, but the full price is like 16 euros or something, I don't even remember now, but like BH Cosmetics eyeshadows are really affordable and really good quality. I really do love the brand. I think they are one of the most underrated brands, but at the same time I think they have gotten some more recognition that they totally deserve recently. But you know, I think these are just as good as Colourpop eyeshadows, for example. Just for me, these are way easier to get than Colourpop. I got two of the City palettes from BH Cosmetics. I don't know, I don't think these are called City palettes, but they do have these palettes themed after cities and even some countries. The ones I got are Beautiful in Barcelona and Love in London. Let's start with the Beautiful in Barcelona. This one has been on my wish list for longest. Like, I don't even remember how long I have wanted this, but I can tell you that long. So this is what the palette looks like. I'm sorry the light is again reflecting, but it's like the base of this palette is warm neutrals palette, but it does have both some pops of color and some pops of cool tones. I absolutely do love this color story. Yeah, it's something I have wanted for a really long time, but then I was thinking that because I do have from Juvia's Place the Nubian 2, like, do I really need this palette? But I did watch a swatch video of this palette. It was from, let me check out which the channel was. Okay, so the channel is Spooky Fairy. She has the best swatch videos. Honestly, go check her out. I think she makes awesome work with her swatches. So she did a swatch video of this one and I was sold right away. There are so many interesting shades that I do not have in my collection, and even though I do love the Nubian 2, as you know, it's one of my very top favorite palettes. I think this palette, it gives something different to me, and also I feel for my complexion it is maybe a little bit more user friendly. I can come up with kind of like softer and more neutral looks from this one if I want to. But yeah, really beautiful palette. I'm so happy to finally have it. Okay, another palette in the same line that I bought is the Love in London eyeshadow palette. This color story is stunning. So here we go. Again, sorry, it's super reflective, but this is like a cool toned eyeshadow palette. And I have really wanted to get like my perfect cool toned neutral eyeshadow palette, but it can be surprisingly hard. I think brands have been releasing them more, but still there hasn't been the one that I could have considered purchasing before this one. I think I, for some reason, didn't pay attention to this palette first, but then I started to watch swatches of this palette and I realized it is exactly what I do want from my perfect cool toned palette. It has everything I need. Like, it has some more neutral shades, like neutral browns, and it has a taupe shade. Then it does have some kind of warmer shades, so like a golden bronzy shade, and then this cheeky shade over here is like, it is warmer, a little bit lighter gold, but by no means this palette pulls super warm. There are just those few pops that actually do make sense. And then in this palette there's a beautiful silver, the shade Palace, and there's some pops of blue. But also what I do love about this palette compared to other cooler toned palettes is that there are actually quite a few of plummy options. So I'm really excited to play with this palette. Okay, then I do still have two of these BH Cosmetics Clam Reflection palettes. These I was really interested in when they first launched, but I think they launched quite close to when I started my Nova year. I'm not exactly sure, or maybe it was in 2017 when these launched. But then I started my Nova year in 2019 and I kind of forgot about them. I did buy the Clam Reflection Rosé eyeshadow palette because this one was like €7.50 on sale, and this one at some point, this really was on my wish list for so long. This one has a huge mirror in it, so I don't want to reflect you, so I'm going to put paper to cover it. So this one has a beautiful kind of like rosy neutral color story, and I absolutely do love this kind of tones. I can be quite picky what comes to a little bit more cooler tones like rosy shades. I don't like when they pull too ashy, like I absolutely hated the shade Buon Fresco in ABH Modern Renaissance. I still forced myself to finish it, but I hated it. But in this palette, even though there are these rosy tones, the overall vibe is just like soft. Some shades lean a little bit warmer, some shades lean a little bit cooler, but it's not like too pinky, not too cool toned, not ashy. I love the color story. And yeah, then there is the free gift with purchase palette. So it is the Clam Reflection Smoke eyeshadow palette. This one also was on my wishlist at some point when I was first looking into these palettes. The Rosé palette was the one that I really wanted, and then this one was the second. The really warm golden bronzy palette I never really wanted, and then the red was kind of interesting to me, but I don't think it's something I would buy. I don't use that kind of tones that often. But this is a really beautiful smoky palette. Let me show you. There are some similar things happening in this palette than in the Love in London, but in this palette there is the most beautiful icy silver. I mean, look at that. The silver in the Love in London has a little bit more kind of like neutral beigey undertone. This is just like pure silver. Really love that. I really do love this palette because oftentimes smoky palettes are just like really cool toned and really smoky. Like I do have the Urban Decay Naked Smoky. I love that palette. It has a huge sentimental value to me because it used to be my party palette back in the days. And it has traveled with me to festivals, as I have told you. In the end of the day, that palette is no way like everyday appropriate palette, and pretty much everything you're going to do with the look is going to turn out smoky. Half of the palette are really deep smoky shades. Then last year Colourpop released their smoke... What was the palette even called? I don't remember, but the like grey, black, silver 9-pan monochromatic palette. And even though first that palette caught my eye, in the end of the day, everything you're going to do from that palette is going to be like just grey, smoky looks. But in this palette there's actually a lot of variety going on, and I do love that there are some warmer tones in here, because I do think that, for example, blue and copper pair really beautifully together, so I cannot wait to play with this palette. This is the best gift with purchase that I have ever gotten. Okay, so I did bring those 6 eyeshadow palettes into my collection, and as I said, I do not regret it, but I will say that I do want to slow down significantly. I have not yet fully decided if I want to like limit the amount of eyeshadow palettes that I'm going to purchase, or if I'm just going to do like a beauty budget, and then I will allow myself to purchase a palette if I want to. But you know, this is not how often I do want to buy palettes. That is what I know for sure. You know, it's going to take quite a while for me to even use all of those shades once. So yeah, I do want to slow down. But then let's still go through the numbers of my eyeshadow palette collection and where they stand right now after ending my no-buy and purchasing some more. So I do have currently 14 eyeshadow palettes in my collection, plus 2 C palettes, and loose eyeshadows in my collection I do have 19 at the moment. That is a category that I do not want to grow, so I will no longer buy loose eyeshadows. If I happen to get one from the Pip box, that is like the only subscription service I get, that's okay, but I will not buy these myself again because they are pretty annoying to use, even though they can be beautiful finishes. Okay, I hadn't filmed in my pressed single eyeshadows for the sake of filming this video, I'm sorry. I think I do have 71 of those, most depotted. I think I have 71 because last time that I have filmed I had 75, and since filming that I have Declutter, the 2 Juvia's Place eyeshadows, and I have finished 2 eyeshadows. But then pressed eyeshadows in general in my collection I do have 275. So that's both singles and eyeshadow pans in palettes, and the total amount of eyeshadows, both pressed and loose eyeshadows, in my collection at the moment is 284. I don't know what to think about it, honestly. Like, we're getting closer to 300. I don't want to beat myself up about it. Like, you know, this is not a crazy number, but yeah, I do want to be mindful when bringing in more. And as I said, I do want to slow down in purchasing. Okay, and then last but not least, the pan percentage. This is always something really exciting. I was worried that my pan percentage is going to drop like under 10, but it hasn't. I'm really excited. I do have in total, as I said, 275 pressed eyeshadows in my collection, and I have hit pan on 30 eyeshadows, so that makes my pan percentage to be 20.91. So we're still over 10. This actually might drop under 10 somewhere this year once I start finishing like the ABH eyeshadows I want to finish. But you know, in general, I think 10 is kind of like the minimum I want to have, so hopefully I can hit some new pans quickly. And yeah, I do still have 245 eyeshadows I have not hit pan on. Of course, I want to hit pan on some of those shades. At the moment, I do have 9 empty pans, so 2 in my panning solitaire and 7 in my panted palette. Okay, but that was everything for today. I know this video was way longer than these videos usually are because of the palettes I bought, but it was really fun for me to film this video. By no means am I going to film these videos monthly anymore, but I do think about once in every 3 months is how often I do want to do these check-ins, just to keep myself accountable if I have bought eyeshadows. And also I do want to follow my progress and also my pan percentage, so I'm probably going to film one of these videos when it's unlikely that I would anymore hit new pans or finish any eyeshadows. So you know, then we could see what is my yearly progress, like how many eyeshadows I finished in a year and hit pan on in a year. So yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to film one of these videos somewhere in the end of December. But that's everything for today. Thank you so much for watching this video and see you in my next one. Bye bye.